I've just finished welding the new brackets for the passenger side of the vehicle on, made sure the angle of them matched the driver's side, and found a centralized point to actually measure from to make sure this side matched this side for distance over, as well as just even how far back I had from the cross member, this reference point to that one. So I'm just trying to make sure the car is square as much as I can. I measured off a few different parts of the frame to make sure it was square, and I'll eventually move on to where I'm measuring off of the front point of the front beam of that vehicle to the rear point of the axle, make sure the wheelbase is square, and make sure the rear axle is actually square in the vehicle. But going from that, I've just been passing some time to just goofing around. I've knocked out the old rivets for where the fender hangers used to be, or side skirts. And it's just an interesting little thought how the rivets on this haven't been driven out of the frame since it was assembled way back in 1929. And it's just kind of a neat little thought, even though it's just going to get filled in since I don't like extra holes in the frame. Anyhow, that's about all I got done. But tonight, hopefully, we'll get that part of the actual wishbone finished up to where I can actually start pulling the old engine and finally put that in. Hopefully this by the end of this week, hopefully. Really lucky with measuring a few different points on the frame and just using a C-clamp way up there to just hold my tape measure in place, and measuring to the backside of the axle with my level to make sure it was actually perfectly like upright, and then measuring to where I could see where my tape measure was for wheelbase, and I was supposed to get around 107 1/4 to the backside of the axle tube here, which I got that on both sides here and over there, and then just measuring a few random other points like I mentioned on the frame. Everything turned out perfect. That's why I'm glad I chalked the wheels in front and the back ahead of time before I cut any of my tack welds for the old piping beforehand. And all I got left now to do is lay a few tack welds on that bung right there, and we'll be perfect. And this, with how well it's going together, I can actually pull the old engine out and set the new engine in, like possibly by tomorrow. Well, kind of hazy in here, but I hammered out all the other fender hangers. What do you think, Spider? Okay then. So yeah, lay a few more tack welds on the underside of that wishbone there, and then I'll start goofing around with pulling that engine. I'm kind of curious how heavy that boat anchor is. I'm gonna guess probably about 400 pounds because it's all cast iron. So it might even weigh more than that, who knows. Anyhow, that's about it. I might go to bed soon. Like my shoes. Anyways, cleaned up the whole garage, well, at least swept it for the most part and cleaned up everything underneath except for a few steering things that just left up there for now. But ended up getting like a few more of the tacks done around the basically the heim joints and just dressing up a few little things in the meantime, and put all the tools away. Well, partially. Moved my old like engine hoist out of the way from there to where we can roll the whole car back and pull that engine. But I figured for the fun of it, I'm not going to push that hard. Well, that's where some of the plastic was I was trying to find to take off of a Tonka truck I was working on. Yeah. Anyways, not very hard to move the whole car. Yeah. So now I've got more room. I can get my steering stuff cleaned up a little more, and we'll have plenty of room to basically hook the engine, pick it up, and pull it away from the front end of the vehicle, and then hopefully sell the thing tomorrow since it's basically a boat anchor. This whole car came from a house fire that they pushed outside, let it sit for a few decades. The engine's toast. Good for parts, but toast.